A Dragon Age the Veilguard. So, the devs, apparently, are proud of the game, despite the fact that the game took, what, a month to hit 1 million copies? So, any good game within the first day or two, 1 million copies, easily reached. You have this game that took a month. And not only that, within a couple days, there was 30,000 refunds. But they're still happy with the way the game went. They're still happy with the critical reception that they're saying. You mean all the comments that you actually allowed to stay on and stay shown after you deleted and blocked everyone else? All right there, Cartman. Butters is working overtime for you, I see. Says they're quite proud of the critical reception, but admit sales are struggling. And also, you got to remember, they also have their shill gaming journalists who, the entire time, oh my god, oh my god, Dragon Age Veilguard is the best game of the year. Oh, so diverse. Oh, the representation is amazing. So, I don't know who this company thinks they're fooling, but they're not fooling anyone. Also, Tosh.0. So I looked up who provided the voice. Now in the game, they're just oh, I'm non-binary. You know, my pronouns are, I'm going by they, and I'm like, okay. When I first saw this, I was like, okay, there has to be a self-insert. And what do you know? The voice actress is they them. See, this is what I'm talking about when we say things like, we see trends, and that's how we can kind of, put pieces together. Yeah, it's either an insert for them because they them, or one of the writers. You think they just arbitrarily just made a Tosh non-binary? No, clearly it's an insert, and usually it's of the voice actress or the voice actor or whatever. But she's a terribly written character. She's like, you don't know what it's not, you don't know what it's like, not being comfortable with who I am. It's like, if that's this person, don't use the game as a therapy session. You're a millionaire. Just go to therapy. But I was like, oh, what do you know? The actress who provides the voice is they them. Corrine Bush, I believe, is trans. So you can, any one of these people, really. In attempting to spin their game's less than stellar reception, Dragon Age The Veilguard director Corrine Bush and series creative director John Epler say that despite the mixed feelings players had towards the fantasy RPG franchise's latest entry, their overwhelming amount of positive praise it received from the main. What did I just say? Again, it's almost like we know these things, and yet we're always questioned. We're always called phobe ism. I just said that it's mainly like the journalist, like the mainstream kind of praise it received from the mainstream media. Like anyone cares what the mainstream media thinks. They are paid a lot of money to give positive reviews. Why would they even think that's all you plebs and chuds dissing the game? Well, guess what? We've got the mainstream media, and they all said it's a positive experience. Like, anyone really cares what the mainstream media says. And their team are quite proud of it. Bush and Epler offer their thoughts on the divisive title's wider reputation during a post-release interview given by Eurogamer associate editor Robert Purchase. Asked by their host about how they felt at launch when people's opinions and reviews were rolling in. Bush began. The biggest thing I was feeling was a sense of curiosity. We get so close to the work, we're focused on the day-to-day of it, and of course we're playing and we're mindful of the overall experience. We know what we've got. Show me what you've got. But there is something, even when you go through the preview events or have a smaller hands-on demos, there's nothing quite like a player getting it in their hands. Or reviewers playing through the game for the first time. They're always curious, right? Of course, we've poured a lot of our. Yeah, that's kind of obvious. We've poured a lot of ourselves into the game. Obvious. When, you hear that, you expect like love, and passion. No, but they poured themselves. Self inserts, like a lot of them. Uh so uh into the game, but I find for myself a sense of trying to let go of personal investment and just step back and absorb what else then has to say about the game experience. So for me, it's curiosity. Yeah, I think people were more curious about how bad the game was going to be. It's like with Avowed. People were thinking, oh, it's just pronouns, right? It starts with pronouns. Look at the first thing that we saw from this game was what? The character creator. We saw the pronouns, we saw the top surgery scars, and people are like, "Oh, well, why does it matter? It's just representation." And then you play the game and see that the game is stuffed with this crap. Like Tasha's whole character is her whining about no one understands me the way I am. I don't feel good in my own body. You know what it's like? That's her whole character. So when we see these things, we pick up on the trends. We pick up on these little cues that we've seen over and over and over and over and over and over and over for the last few years. And based on that, we can say this game is going to be bad. People can say, "Oh, it's just pronouns." No, that's just more like the appetizer. They're just showing you a little bit of what to expect, but the pronouns, the tops are that's just the appetizer. The in-game stuff, that's the main course. That's what they're trying to tease you a little bit, trying to, tickle your palate with the pronouns, and because it's never just the pronouns, ever. No game has just come out with just pronouns. It's always more, and that's what people are tired of. Building on his colleagues' thoughts, Epler asserted, "I'd say for me, probably Relief was definitely at the top of my list. I've been on the project for a very long time. I remember when the game studio was still being built. I was playing the game back then. We were still beta testing it. Been on the project for a long time, and there were definitely times in development where, especially early on, it felt like the day would never come. So the fact that it came out felt amazing." That's what he said. Actually, it is what he said. I also thought it was interesting reading the reviews to see just the variety of what people were engaging with, what people were bouncing off of, maybe, and pulling some of the feedback early on. Because, again, as Kareen says, we're so close to the game, so close to the project, that it's hard to take a step back and look at it through that lens. So seeing other people look at it through that lens was really great. Turning to address Kareen's other point, Epler further admitted curiosity was definitely there too. But for me, relief that it's out, relief that the reviews were coming off fairly well. Excitement for the fans to get their hands on it and to start to see how they were going to react to it. Next, the pair was pressed about divisive reactions to the game. In particular, whether or not that was something that they had planned to that they planned to expect. Did we expect it? Yes and no. What we know is that these reactions have been a part of the Dragon Age journey with every entry. Even if you look back to Origins, it wasn't necessarily hailed at the time with the reverence that it is today, because people were still considering the games like Neverwinter Nights. So we saw that through each entry. It was more so this time than we were embraced for, but we did expect it. I also think that comes from reinvention. One of the unique, I often call it challenge and opportunity of the franchise, is that it does reinvent itself with each entry. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't do that. I mean, it's people play Dragon Age for a reason because of the game. That's like, hello, Sam. Come on. It's like taking the formula that's worked for Zelda for 40 years, and then suddenly making it like a first-person shooter. It just doesn't work. It does. It doesn't work. So, can I help you? Oh yeah, how do you like that view? Welcome to the view. I'm almost done, Bub. Can you just like? There you go. Good boy. Um, but yeah, reinventing like constantly. Just take what makes the game good and just improve on it. That's all you have to do. Again, look at Nintendo games. That's what they've been doing for the last 40 years. That's why their IPs are so beloved and they're still around. Mario, Zelda, Kirby, Donkey Kong, Metroid, Star Fox. There's a reason why they're still beloved franchises because they always kind of stay true to what they are. They don't feel the need to reinvent themselves. Um, offering his take, Epler posited, it's been a decade since the last Dragon Age came out, and a lot of people have spent the decade imagining various versions of what the game was going to be. The reality was whatever we came out with, it was never going to match Dragon Age 4 in people's minds and people's imaginations. Now, how closely it matched, or whether they got what they got was different in a good way than what they were expecting. That speaks to a very wide variety of reactions on it. But getting those kinds of reactions at least suggests that, to Kareem's point about having a direction, having a very clear vision, it speaks to you. It speaks to you've got something that's very clear thing, and it's not sitting in the middle. Well, I mean, sometimes it might be best to sit in the middle instead of pushing it to one side and getting people mad. Middle, it's fine. It's like Switzerland. It's neutral. So instead of sometimes pushing the envelope and not working out, sometimes the middle, you know, maybe it's best sometimes. Um, expecting middle, it's not trying to be all things to all people. It's trying to be itself. It's trying to be the game that it wants to be. I think you're going to get much more polarized reactions that way than if you were to make something that tries to be a little bit of everything. You might still end up with the same score, but it's going to be a lot more in the middle of the spectrum of scores. Again, nothing wrong with that. Next, Pro Cheese inquired as to the game's current sale. Oh boy, how has the how has the commercial response to this game been? I've been told stories that have kept me up at night for the last 30 years. Stories my mother told me when I was a child. And they seemed mixed and inconclusive. The game seems to be doing okay, but struggling to keep the pace with Inquisition before it. Has it had success from your point of view? How do you measure that? I'm How do you measure that? I think of the that song from Rent. That 5,000,000 20 or 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year? You know, that's and they start listing things off. That's what I'm thinking here. I don't like that movie but my brother used to listen to that fucking thing all the time. He had a soundtrack and he listened to it all the freaking time. All the freaking time. So I'm like I'm in my room and just from inside my room through the wall I can hear the 525,600 minutes. But yeah, that's how do you measure a year? Taking the lead on the question and proceeding to fuck my life. Proceeding to address each individual point in reverse. Bush detail. There's three axes we can measure this by: what our team was able to do and put together, the pride that they can take in that. Every game that is made, especially in the AAA space where you're talking hundreds of developers, timelines, and it's a miracle. That they executed at quality. Internally, we consider that a success, but not a financial success, which is what you should be going for. We're very happy with the critical reception of the game. It's not common to have these challenges, these challenging development cycles, and have the team turn around and receive the critical reception that it did. Again, from mainstream media, because they sure as hell don't listen to the players. They sure as hell don't do that. In fact, in a lot of ways, this is a harder path to take. We walk alone. We walk this lonely road. Oh my Enough with the references. So yeah, we're quite proud of the critical reception because those shill companies and journalists really know how to jerk us off, and it made us feel good. In fact, we had to almost cancel the game because they were jerking us off so hard that we almost came all over our equipment, and it was going to ruin everything. So I'm glad we stopped when we did. But of course, despite the hot air, Bush and Epler attempted to blow in defense of their work on Veilguard, the former could not dodge the reality of its actual sales numbers, as she concluded her reflection by admitting, unfortunately, on the sales side, that's not something we can really discuss. But of course, we know with Inquisition, that was a long burn to get those total sales numbers. Yeah. Yeah. The numbers for the good numbers were for the Veilguard. Where are they? Um, the studios still don't understand that you can't pick and choose your audience. They want so desperately to have a profitable modern audience, but it doesn't exist. Bunny with the keyboard. You always see Bunny with the keyboard here. Don't give these people money. Don't give money to people who hate you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. Anytime now. It's all fun and games, sneering down at the customers till those sale numbers come in. Then you're the ones left without a job, while the people you railed against enjoy this some other game. Yeah, yeah. Like it's no risk to us. We don't have to buy the game. But these companies who are wasting for this game was upwards to what 350 400 million. We're not the ones at risk here. You are. So instead of trying to alienate your fan base by, constantly bashing them, why don't you try pushing the game to where it sells to everyone? I've said before, if they were to come out and say, yeah, we have a lot of political, driven stuff in the game, but, for the people who aren't really into that, we just ask you to try the game. Just try it. That's all they have to do. But no, they'll come out instead of trying to entice you to play the game. Oh, it's not meant for you. You're just a bunch of incel chuds who hate women and phobes and this and isms, and you clip butterfly wings and you don't kiss your grandma goodbye, and they do everything they can to insult you. And then normal people look at that and say, well, I'm not going to support a company who's treating their customers like that. So then they lose out on more business. And then the game Costs $400 million to make it. It only makes 70 million. And then they have to start laying people off because they can't afford to keep them. But somehow we're the problem. But yeah, I'm not surprised with that. I'm not surprised. Mentioning mainstream media, come on. Of course the mainstream media is going to jerk you guys off. That's what they're paid to do. Gamers, however, we're not paid like that. We're not paid to give good reviews. Now, there are some YouTubers who will, like, oh yeah, we're going to sponsor you, and we're just... And people are like, oh my god, they're like, oh my god, this game is the best thing I've ever played. You should really play Raid Shadow Legends. It's by far the best mobile game. You know, but then there are people who like get paid and then they're like, yeah, I'm gonna be honest about the game here. So saying that the mainstream media hails it as a success and reveres it, that no one cares what the mainstream media thinks. So this is what we look like when we hear that people trust the mainstream media and their opinions. But not surprised. Say they're proud of the critical reception thanks to the mainstream media, but then they're like, oh yeah, well the game's not selling very well. Well then it's not a success. It's not a success. With the mainstream, Kotaku, IGN, all of them, what they're saying, is it helping the sales numbers? No. It took you guys a month just to hit 1 million copies. And then even then, within the first couple days, you had 30,000 refunds. So you didn't even come close to breaking even. That's not a success. But what do we know? Anyway, that's gonna do it for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.